سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه الطاهرين ما دام ما في السماوات والأرضين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم إنا نسألك علما ينفعنا يرفعنا. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا واسعا وعملا متقبلا وشفاء من كل داء. وبعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we've started reading about a challenge which the Prophet ﷺ faced and which we also face in terms of our community. From the beginning of Surah Tawbah up until verse number 38, from verse number 38 right till the end of Surah Tawbah, which in terms of our division would be a half and a quarter, three-quarter of what we normally refer to as part of the Quran. So if you look at Surah Tawbah, it covers three-quarter and a quarter, so one juz. We've covered a quarter thus far. The three-quarter that remains, except for a few verses, Allah talks about that internal challenge. And that internal challenge comes in the form of what the Quran labels as munafiqun. We translate in English as the hypocrites. We're talking about a very important battle, and that would be the battle of Tabuk, where the Prophet ﷺ set out to challenge the Roman Empire. The battle has a number of different names which we spoke about. One of the names that Allah talks about in the surah is Sa'atil Usr, hour of difficulty. So it was a battle of great difficulty. It happened at this time of the year. We in the southern hemisphere, we're experiencing winter, but in the northern hemisphere, in the Middle East, they are currently experiencing summer. It was in these blistering hot months that the companions, after battle after battle, we had just discussed the battle of Hunain. So it was battle after battle, and they battle weary. In the heart of summer, they are now requested to go and confront the Roman Empire, the superpower of the time. What happens is then the believers, when the Prophet ﷺ issues a command, their response is, we hear and we obey. Some of the believers did stay behind, and we'll discuss them at a later stage. The fact that they stayed behind doesn't mean that they are disbelievers, but the majority of those who stayed behind, they are being called out. So there comes a time where up until this point in time, and we're now in the 10th year of Hijrah, the Prophet ﷺ subsisted with the hypocrites, and none of them were called out. Their names were divulged to one companion, and he was by the name of Hudhaifa. He was known as the keeper of the secrets of the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't divulge their names to anybody. And when the Prophet ﷺ was asked about why don't you call them out, he says it shouldn't be said, because from the outside perspective, when a person looks at a hypocrite, does he label him as a Muslim or non-Muslim? A Muslim because ostensibly, apparently, that's a Muslim. So now from an outsider perspective, if the Prophet ﷺ starts calling out the hypocrites, what is going to be said? That the Prophet ﷺ, he is calling out his own brethren. And that would affect a more important objective. And what is that objective? Of calling towards Islam and calling towards the Prophet. But it does come a point, and this is why this particular surah is also referred to as Al-Fadhiha. Fadhiha means to disgrace, to call out into disgrace, because here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to Ibn Abbas, he lists not by name but by qualities the hypocrites, that they start standing out. They become, in our contemporary terms, red flagged. They stand out like thorns, basically, right? And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about over here. I think importantly for us, I quote one of the fighters in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They contemporary, this is in your magazine, we mentioned this before, and it's just an example, a metaphor, not meant to be taken literally, that in your magazine you must have 10 bullets, one for the enemy and 9 for the hypocrites, right? That's how a a devastating force hypocrites have been throughout history. I reminded you of another contemporary scholar by the name of Abdul Rahman Hassan Habannaka. He was a erudite scholar from Damascus, also one of the teachers of a more well-known scholar, Muhammad Sa'id Ramadan al-Buti. He was the teacher of Muhammad Sa'id Ramadan al-Buti. He wrote a book. The name of the book, the title of the book is Al-Munafiqun wa Khaba'ithum fi Tarikh. He talks about hypocrites, not only at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and the negative influence that they had over time. So he mentions in every era how our enemies really wasn't from without. You know, enemies from without we can withstand, but the enemies from within, that has caused us the greatest damage. Then you and I also, you know, they say that a hypocrite considers himself to be a true believer. And a true believer is always apprehensive that he may be a hypocrite. So if you feel hypocritical at times and questioning, you know, the truthfulness of your belief, then that's a sign of not being a hypocrite, but a sign of being a believer. A hypocrite, on the other hand, he considers himself to be a true believer. So the whole idea of reading through the qualities of the hypocrites is that if those qualities are not found within us, and then we praise Allah for it. But if they are to be found in us, then we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to assist us to rid ourselves of those particular qualities. So the important thing in terms of the psychology which we mentioned before about reading, you know, of these ostensible excuses that a hypocrite would have, and we shouldn't be, you know, of those who sort of follow in their suit, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. So it's very important, and as true believers which we aspire to be, we should always be wary that, you know, I don't fit into this bracket and this shoe doesn't fit me. These are one of those shoes that shouldn't be fitting us, and it's the shoe of hypocrisy. May Allah save us, inshallah, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to continue reading bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to backtrack just a little bit to provide a little bit more clarity in certain of some of the verses. Where are we supposed to start from? My memory serves me correctly, 49 we finished. No. So وَلَوْ أَرَادُوا الْخُرُوجَ أو لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا ولو أرادوا الخروج. Okay, no problem. Bismillah. So what happened is, I always, when it comes to class, you know, I always forbid myself that I'm behind, you know, but actually I didn't do that verse. Maybe I taught myself the verse. I'm convinced that sometimes happens, and Allah knows best. So وَلَوْ أَرَادُوا الْخُرُوجَ لَا عُدُّوا لَوْ عُدَّةً وَلَكِنْ كَرِهَ اللَّهُ بِعَاثَهُمْ فَثَبَّطَهُمْ وَقِيلَ قُعُدُوا مَعَ الْقَاعِدِينَ. It's a good place to start, because I think this type of what do you have? Allah spoke about, you know, the believers, they don't seek your permission to join the campaign. It is the hypocrites that seek your permission. The idea is, you know, if you really wanted to, then you wouldn't ask, you'd actually just do it. In terms of ourselves, we do the same thing, you know, like sometimes at night, just an example comes to mind. Your wife has finished, clean up the kitchen, put the lights off, everything, and when she passes by in the lounge, she said, would you like to have a cup of tea? So you could say that if you wanted to make me a cup of tea, then the light would still be on, and the kettle would be boiling, and the milk would be on, and, you know, like almost like that. I don't know if that's the right example, but that's basically what's happening over here. So a hypocrite is going to ask you. I might not use the right example, but just try to get the ideas. And I don't want to tap on anybody's toes also in the process. So in this expedition, the hypocrite, he seeks permission, but the idea is he doesn't want to join. He wants to get off the hook. Whereas the believer, he doesn't seek permission. He knows, look here, this is the call of the hour, and I need to respond to the call of the hour. That's basically what Allah SWT is talking about over here. Then Allah talks about a unique thing, and this is, I use this example and I try to make it relevant to you and me. You know, if you really wanted to do something, then you would go through the preparatory steps in order to do that. Now, if you say, I want to do something, but you don't prepare yourself for doing that, then, you know, you're hypocritical in terms of your intention. Example. The example I use, and I may have used it with myself or shared with the class, I'm always stuck here when it comes to verses like these. A person wants to, of the most important prayer of the entire day would be the morning prayer. And uniquely, to tie in, the Prophet ﷺ says that of all the prayers, the most difficult, not upon the believer, but upon the hypocrite, are two prayers. Which are those prayers? The evening prayer, Isha, and the morning prayer. You may find a person, everything else is quite easy for him to do, but the evening prayer and the morning prayer, most difficult. That, the Prophet ﷺ, is a sign of hypocrisy. So I'm using that example now. So the person says, look, no, I'm a true believer, I want to wake up the next morning. But now you want to wake up the next morning, but when you go sleep at night, you don't put preparatory steps in order to facilitate that you wake up in the morning, then Allah is going to say to you that you hypocritical in terms of your intention. You follow me? And this is that particular idea. Allah is talking about those hypocrites who stayed behind in Tabuk. Allah is saying to them that if you really wanted to join the campaign, then you would have prepared yourself to join the campaign. You follow me? So remember here now, Allah is not about accommodating the hypocrites. Allah is about calling them out. And for us is maybe a difficult thing, but sometimes you have to call certain things out. We just did it, turn the blind eye. وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِاللَّغْوِ مَرُّوا كِرَامًا. That has its place. But sometimes when people do wrong, like it's come to this point in terms of the revelation of Quran, after now 20 odd years of revelation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, enough is enough, we're drawing the line. These are the signs of hypocrites. Hypocrites, they say one thing, but they do another thing. What is Allah telling us about? When you listen to the, how does the statement go? I'm forgetting the statement now, and it's quite a profound, like it's idiomatic statement in the English language. When you look at the actions of a person, you won't be fooled by his words. When you look at the actions of a person, you won't be fooled by his words. So for example, a person says, I love you, but his action is, he or she backbites about you. So if you look at the actions, and then you won't be fooled by the words. So what is a hypocrite? What is his mainstay? What does he hold on to? His words. And how do you actually call him out? That you ignore his words and you look at his actions. So when you look at the actions of a person, you won't be fooled by the words. So now they're saying, look here, no, the words is what? No, I'm with you. I want to join the expedition. That's his words. But his actions, there's no preparation for joining the battle. So are you going to be fooled by him? No, you're not going to be fooled by him. This is a lesson for us. Because we've become very much soothsayers. Right? And some have told me this, but some people tell you things, but they don't exactly know what they're telling you. So the person tells me, no, I'm what do you call it? Sometimes with words, we get different terms for it. Saying what you don't mean is problematic. It's hypocritical. Right? Nowadays, every time we have a problem in Western society, they have so much problems and therefore they have so much solutions. All the solutions out there, like advancement, what it is. The advancement there is basically telling you of a sad realities because we have so many problems. So now what happens is there's another genre of literature in terms of communication that's telling you, before they were telling you must say the right thing. Now they're realizing that you are saying the right thing, but still you're sitting with the same problem. So what are they saying? That before you say the right thing, that it must be the right thing. That's what they're telling you now. So you can, in other words, marital discord. The husband is saying all the right thing, the wife is saying all the right things, but the marriage is still on the rocks. Why? Because you're not saying the right thing. No, you're being hypocritical. You're with me, right? So another of the lessons that we learn here, and I think it's very relevant because we live in this make-believe world where basically hypocrisy has become the order of the day. Hypocrisy is what's the opposite of hypocrisy? It's truthfulness, where what you say externally is matched by what is happening internally. There's this truthfulness, and that's the first level of a believer, truthfulness, and that stands in contrast with. So the first lesson is we must put our words on the back burner and put our actions on the front burner. And when we deal with other people, don't listen to their words, but look at their actions. This is one way of calling out a hypocrite. because his words are going to be one thing and his actions are going to be another thing. We want to go with you, that's the words, but are they preparing for it? No, they're not. Look at if we want to ask ourselves, am I being hypocritical in my attempt to stand up for Fajr Salah? If I'm putting all the preparations and then I oversleep, I'm genuine, because I genuinely overslept. Sometimes even if you oversleep, you were the one who pressed the snooze button like 100 times, but you didn't know. I don't know if it can possibly happen, but I'm just saying that I think it's quite possible that you do subconsciously, like or whatever, you throw the phone even away or something, but genuinely, and then you wake up, you with a heavy heart, and then Allah's going to forgive you. That's genuine. But to do nothing and just wishful thinking that you're going to wake up the next day, that's now Allah's going to question you that you weren't truthful in your attempt to stand up over here. So now Allah says, وَلَوْ أَرَادُوا الْخُرُوجَ. وَلَوْ. Now here, and I'm sure you guys, mashallah, I don't like to say this too much, but at a good advantage, you now in your final year, not final year, Mizan is like a never-ending type of program that goes on, so don't worry, just hang out there, inshallah. But in terms of the ability that has been harnessed, I think in terms of reading Quran, understanding Quran, now you have appreciation in terms of the meaning and the message of Quran. So one of those focuses is to look at words. Now, wa means and, law. The word law means if. The word law means if. But if you look at the usage of the word law in Quran, law is like it's a conditional sentence, 100%. But then what other instruments do you get to make a sentence conditional? Like in zurtani akramtuka. If you visit me, I will honor you. You're with me? In, if. And then you get another sentence like idha. Idha means when. So now between in and idha, what is stronger? I tell you, when you visit me, like look, that's like you're going to visit me, it's just a matter of when. When you visit me, I'm going to give you kusistas, for example, on a Sunday, right? So it's different from, if you visit me, I'll give you kusistas. When you visit me, I'll give you kusistas. So both are conditional. Okay. I can't think of any other word right now. So we have in and you have idha. You have law also in the Arabic language. But the law does also mean if, but the possibility of it happening is highly unlikely. The word law by itself is like, highly unlikely. Almost like I say something about the past. If you were in the holidays, were you at so and so place? And then I say, if you saw me, we could have done that. In Arabic, you would use the word law, because look here, it's in the past, so if it happened, in other words, it never happened, so it will never happen. You with me? Like in the past context. So law is like that. So in Quran, Allah says, وَلَوْ أَنَّنَا نَزَّلْنَا إِلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. If we had to send down angels to them, would Allah send down angels to them? So Allah is almost like saying, hypothetically, if we had to send down angels, then this would have been the response. But sending down angels, that's not going to happen. You follow me? Okay. So now, law here, Allah is talking about the hypocrites. Allah says, if they wanted to join the Tabuk expedition, then they would have prepared for it. But the word law already tells you that, look here, they did not intend to go out in the first place, leave alone prepare for going out. That you get from the word law. Okay? And that's why I'm talking about, you reading now and with the assistance of Mullah Khalil and the facilitation, just like word by word and understanding, the Quran and the meaning of Quran from the outset. So you get the understanding, and you get the tone, and you get the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking. وَلَوْ أَرَادُوا arada, yuridu, iradatan means to intend. And now going on that vein, I can't give you an answer now, but if you can explore, like Allah uses certain words at certain times. And the thing about Quran would be that you have synonyms to arada. What would be the synonym of arada? Arada means irada. Irada means what? Intention. What other words do you get for intention? Niyyah. What other words do you get for intention? Qasd. Now all of those, like the word, it appears to me, wallahu alam, and must be researched, that niyyah is something which is strong, qasd is something which is strong, but irada, if you look at the context here, it's an intention, but in and of itself it doesn't carry that weight. Therefore, we don't refer to the niyyah as irada. It's a synonym to it, yes. And we don't refer, niyyah we refer to as qasd, yeah, but we don't use the word irada. So it's like an intention, but Allah knows best. If you can research that for me, why does Allah use the word arada as opposed to qasada, or as opposed to nawa, walau nawaw? Allah doesn't say walau nawaw, or Allah doesn't say walau qasadu. Allah says walau aradu. It's all synonyms, but there must be a reason why Allah is saying aradu as opposed to the two other synonyms. And to me it appears that irada is like very light, if they intended. Right? Walau aradu. Arada, aradu, right? Which means to intend. Walau aradu. The dhamir here, if you wanted to, you can call the waw the fa'il, or you could say the dhamir mustatir hum, that's the fa'il. If they intended, who are we talking about? We're talking about the hypocrites. If they intended, what did they intend? Al-khuruja. Al-khuruja. The word kharaja yakhruju means to exit. Al-khuruj is the gerund, it's the verbal noun. One of the most simple verbs that we've come across, kharaja yakhruju khuruj, right? If they intended to exit, what does exit here mean? In other words, go out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? وَلَوْ أَرَادَ الْخُرُوجَ. What would they have done? La. The word la is for emphasis, right? The next word is a'addu. A'addu. The root letters here are adda ya'uddu udda. A'adda yu'iddu i'dad means to prepare. لَأَعَدُّوا, they would have prepared. They would have prepared lahu for it, in other words for the exit, uddatan a preparation. And that's more, uddatan there would be, what type of maf'ul would that be? Maf'ul mutlaq. And here it comes basically for emphasis. They were prepared for it, a preparation. You'd have busied yourself with the preparation. What do you talk, okay, are you going with his? I'm going, but why come you still sitting on your bed? You tell your kids like, you're going, we're leaving like in a minute, all of us are out but you're sitting on your bed. You know, we talk to them like that. So Allah is saying that if they intended to leave, then they would have prepared for it a preparation. Again, the action, if you were truthful in your intention, then it would have reflected in your action. You'd have prepared for it a preparation. Now, so the important thing here is the psychology. And here for us, I think very important in terms of, you know, sometimes you got to draw a line in the sand. And here in this, like Ibn Abbas said, Allah is calling out the hypocrites in terms of their qualities, right? In terms of their qualities. Walakin, but, and at the end of the day, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed, you know, and apparently, you know, you're responsible for your own action. But at the end of the day, it is basically what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed. Walakin, but kariha Allahum bi'athahum, fathabbatahum, waqila qu'udu ma'al qa'idin. Determined by His wisdom, Allah decrees certain things, and the decree of Allah is based on what? And these are important, I think, you know, theological issues which is important for us to understand. We believe in the divine decree. The divine decree is based on what? Number one, is based on Allah's infinite knowledge, balanced by Allah's infinite wisdom, reasoning behind a particular thing. And I think sometimes we don't understand the thing behind wisdom. What does wisdom mean? You know, like if you look at philosophy is what? You must help me with these things. No? Philo is the one thing and Sophie is the other thing. It's a love of wisdom. But what is wisdom? Wisdom, sometimes you can understand wisdom just to be for a particular reason. So sometimes something appears to be very bad, but when you understand the reasoning behind it, your evaluation of that thing changes again. Because you're understanding it differently, you see the reasoning behind it. Wisdom, reasoning. You with me? Let's say, for example, just by way of example, a parent disciplines a child. So when you look at it, it's like harsh, you know, put you in the naughty corner. If you're not behaving on the table, then you must stand up and leave the table. It's harsh. But now when you understand the reason behind it, you see the wisdom behind it, appreciate it. So when Allah decrees certain things, ostensibly it may look at harsh, but there's so we believe in the decree of Allah. And the decree of Allah is based on what? On His knowledge and a wisdom. Now, many times we feel short of recognizing the wisdom. Many times in life, after something happens, then we see the wisdom and we're ever grateful for that thing actually happening to us. right? But sometimes in the spur of the moment we can't see the wisdom, and sometimes for a while we can't understand the wisdom, but to know that. So in terms of Allah's wisdom and knowledge and reasoning, what from a theological perspective, what happened? وَلَكِنْ كَرِهَ اللَّهُمْ بِعَثَهُمْ. But كَرِهَ Allah, Allah disliked. What did Allah dislike? إِنْبِعَاثَهُمْ. إِنْبِعَاثَهُمْ, those are two words. إِنْبِعَاث is the one word, and whom is the other word? Mudaf, mudaf ilayh. So إِنْبِعَاث is also a gerund, it's a verbal noun. Ba'atha means to send. Imba'atha means to be sent or to be dispatched. Imbi'athahum. Allah disliked their dispatchment, their going out or their coming out. Fathabbatahum. Thabbata, fathabbatahum, to cause to become, what do you call it? Lag behind. Thabbatahum. Allah caused them to lag behind. Thabata means to like, like you put the concrete into the, you have a pole, and then you put the concrete at the bottom, and the concrete goes in and it becomes settled like that. فَثَبَّطَهُمْ. Allah causes them to become like that. Right? فَثَبَّطَهُمْ. وَقِيلَ, and it is said, أُقْعُدُوا. قَعَدَ يَقْعُدُ means to sit literally, but yet means to stay behind. مَعَ الْقَاعِدِينَ, with those who are staying behind. Now, khair. So, important if you look at the interplay here between what happens in terms of the decree of Allah. What happens is, do they have a conscious choice in doing what they are doing? Yes. And once they exercise their conscious choice, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts it down to decree. So at the end of the day, can you blame Allah's decree, or must you blame yourself? You must blame yourself. It's unique in terms of the way it goes, even in relation to the munafiqun. It's important for us to understand. Wallahu alam. لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا ولا عوضوا خلالكم يبغونكم الفتنة. Here we have a Allah talks about in history we were beset with a lot of trials and tribulations. I want to just give you an idea of, we talk about maybe you can talk about it in this way, leaders and followers, right? So how does it work? Do the followers impact on the leader and the leader impact on the followers? Yes. That's basically how things work, right? You part of a group, you impact on the group dynamic, and the group in turn impacts on you. Therefore, as an individual, you have a responsibility towards the group, and the group has a responsibility towards you. So we're talking about the group now, and you have a leader of the group, right? In the first strife that we set the Islamic community, it was between Ali and Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu, right? What distinguished Muawiyah from Ali was the fact that he had a certain following, whereas Ali radiyallahu anhu had a different following. The followers of Ali historically were always troublesome, and therefore Ali radiyallahu anhu as a Khalif couldn't make much headway. Not because of he was the rightful Khalif, no doubt about that, but because of his troublesome followers, he couldn't make any headway. Muawiyah on the other side, according to the majority of scholars, was in the wrong, but he was however able to make headway because of what? Because of his followers. The point I want to put here over is that many times the success is determined by the followers. Good leader and good followers, that's the ideal. You can have a good leader but you have troublesome followers, like the example of Ali radhiyallahu, and you don't make any headway. You follow me? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying now to the believers, look here, you going out on which expedition? Tabuk expedition, right? Are you better off having less but good followers, or having more but troublesome followers? Less but good followers. Because they being with you, you may see it as a numerical advantage, but in reality, that numerical advantage is going to turn off to so many other disadvantages that you're better off without them. I mean, I'm sure you guys work in the professional, you have teams, and sometimes when 2-3 members of the team is absent, so you complain the fact that the absent days in the month is more than the working days, but you're also very relieved because at least things can go forward now. The idea behind it is you'd rather have 1, 2, 3 people working with you as opposed to working against you, and then you get more done. You know, so this is what Allah SWT is saying about here. That for you it's like a setback. You know, and this happened before, and psychologically, and this is how. What do hypocrites also want to do? That's the most devastating thing. Sorry? Create discord, yeah. And the creation of discord, what does it lead to? It leads to sabotage. So the whole thing is sabotage. And that's what they tried to do in the Battle of Uhud. Because when they went with the Prophet, Allah is going to mention about it now. So they went, and what was the army made up? The believers and when they came to the battlefield, this was a stage thing. Then was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. What did he do? When just before they came to Uhud, he took his and all of the hypocrites and they left. What does that do to the morale of the... If you really didn't want to come and you were a disbeliever, that's why the hypocrite is worse than a disbeliever. إِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ. In the lowest rungs of the hellfire, they will be there. Why? Because of this type of thing. You know the enemy, but now you actually going with the army, X amount strong. Now you go, what does it do? It lowers the morale of that army, and it's done with the intent of to sabotage. So Allah is saying, look here, it's better for you to know the hypocrites, go with the army that's numerically less, than go with the army that's filled with hypocrites. You with me? So these are all very sort of salient lessons for us to learn. So Allah SWT says, لَوْ خَرَجُوا. Low, so again using the word low, but here low is using very realistically, because what's happening now is here consciously the hypocrites, they make excuses but they stay behind. So Allah is telling you that if they had come with you, you may see it as an advantage, but it would have been disastrous for you, because what would they have been intent on doing? What would they have been intent on doing? لَوْ خَرَجُوا فِيكُمْ. Allah says, لَوْ if خَرَجُوا. Again the verb خَرَجَ يَخْرُجُ means to exit. لَوْ خَرَجُوا, if they exited فِيكُمْ. Fikum, amongst you. Fikum, amongst you. Then what would happen? مَا زَادُوكُمْ إِلَّا خَبَالًا. So I was reading now here in terms of the tafsir. It's interesting in terms of the way just the exegetes of the Quran help us to piece the sentence together. So they say that ma there is ma nafiya. Zadukum. Zadu is the plural of the verb zada. Zada means to increase. So zada, zadu, right? So zadu means zadu, they all increased. Now that pronoun obviously goes back again to the hypocrites. So if they had exited with you, ma zadukum, they would not have increased you, right? Now what happens is, after that you need to read in a portion of the text which has been omitted. And what is that? They did not increase you in terms of quwwah, in terms of power. They did not increase you in terms of victory. So those two words. And then Allah makes an exception. And what is the exception? Illa khabala. The word khabala means loss. So it's like, you don't say increase. Increase is like sort of the opposite of loss, isn't it? But so, it's like ironic the way in which Allah SWT is putting the verse forward here. They did not increase you except in loss. Now, it's not supposed to read in that particular way. Wallahu alam. So, ma zadukum, they did not increase you in terms of power. They did not increase you in terms of victory, except that they increased you in terms of loss. Khabala. And the word khabala also again is an interesting word in Arabic. The word khabala they describe as two things. One is fasad. Fasad means a corruption. And the other meaning of khabala is, they say tafakkuk, for something to disintegrate. So when something is together and it disintegrates, that action is called khabala. So if they had to be with you as an army, as a unit, they would not have increased you except in disintegration. So a disintegrated, fragmented army, can that army ever think of winning? No. You follow me? So again, لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا. And then ولا أوضعوا خلالكم يبغونكم الفتنة. And what did Allah say? And what do they have done? What do they have done? Here the words is quite unique also here when Allah says ولا أوضعوا. So, and la. What is that la for? Again for emphasis. So they would not increase you except in loss. That's one thing if they came with you, the hypocrites. And wala, and definitely, what do they do? Awda'u. Now here Allah wants to give you an idea, but what does He use? He wants to give an abstract idea of what's going to happen. So He gives you a metaphor. And what is the metaphor? The metaphor is about a person that awda'u. The word awda'u is on the scale of awda'a, awda'a, awda'u. So af'ala, af'ala, af'alu. What are the root letters? Waw, Dad and Ain. Now awda'a is when a camel is moving quickly. When a camel is moving fastly. So in other words, if you look at it literally, and they would cause the camels to, what does the camel do? Trot. Or, you know, like a horse like trots and then it gets into a gallop. And so let's just use the horse terms, right? So they will cause the camels to move steadily. Where? Khilalakum, amongst you. So what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying? That they're going to be in the army and amongst yourselves. And like a person on camelback causes his camel to move swiftly and steadily forward, likewise they're going to make an effort to do what? To cause strife and differences amongst yourselves. You understand the metaphor? Like a person gets his camel to move quickly, they will do their very best to do what? To cause internal strife. You follow me? But now what we must realize is that, you know, you must be having experience. You know, what happens is you have a person, what do they call them? I don't know what the colloquial terms are. A khaichi. You know, the person's coming not to come to the family, you know, but that person, he's like that person on the camel back who's, you know, right across the dinner table, across the dessert, up until everybody's leaving, they're knocking that camel and they're wreaking havoc wherever they're going. You understand the imagery? And how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is visualizing the khaichi for you. Because that is exactly what they're doing. But I'm reading the Quran, I'm thinking, well, I'm just reading and translating normally. But what we lose out is the imagery of Quran and the metaphors. Allah is telling you this is very destructive behavior. We witness it every day. You may go to lunch now today and you're going to see, وَلَا أَوْضَوْا خِلَالَكُمْ يَبْغُونَكُمُ الْفِتْنَةِ. You know, you see that it's not a camel, it's a troop of camels. You know, and wreaking havoc. But we don't realize, but Allah talks about this abstract concept of causing strife amongst believers. He likens it to that, you know, to that camels in a time of war, like coming on at full speed. That's what they're going to do. وَلَا أَوْضَوْا خِلَالَكُمْ. خِلَالَكُمْ where? خِلَالَكُمْ. What does it mean? Allah, the Mufassirun take us to another place in the Quran. So the Munafiqun, they'll be part of the army. They're not going to have their own camps there. They're going to be mixing with you like brothers. خِلَالَكُمْ. Khilal means amongst you. In another verse in Surah Al-Isra, Allah talks, you know, when the Jews, when the disbelievers attacked the Jews, it happened twice over. What does Allah say? They're going to attack you to which degree? فَجَاسُوا خِلَالَ الدِّيَارِ. They will come right into the hearts of your homes. So khilal means right into the center. So what are they going to do? If they were to accompany you and you go into the war, they're going to start strife. They're going to light fires all over the place. Where? Before the army, after the army, on the side of the army? No. Khilalakum. Amongst you. Khilalakum right there. In the center, in the epicenter of what is happening. Khilalakum. What are they going to do? Yabghunakumul fitna. They're going to become there, present in the way Allah uses by means of the metaphor. And what are they seeking? To do good, to reconcile, to unite the army. No. يَبْغُونَكُمْ الْفِتْنَةِ. So, بَغَى يَبْغِي, or بَغِيَ يَبْغُو actually, or بَغَى يَبْغُو means to seek, right? Now this particular verb is what type of verb? This verb is it's not a transitive verb. Or rather it is a transitive verb, but you know when you come to transitive verbs, you have some verbs that go on to one done upon and then the other one have two done upons, right? You follow me? It's almost like you have a class, you have one teacher, but now you have a class with two teachers. You know? So you have a verb that can only have one maf'ul bihi. And you have some verbs that have two maf'ul bihis. You with me? Now, bagha yabghu is a verb that only has one maf'ul bih. Like I seek you. Baghaytuka, I seek you. You can't have two maf'ul bihis with it. But if you look at this ayat, it appears that there are two maf'ul bihis, because yabghuna is the fa'al. And the fa'il is there. You can either look at waw jama'ah, or you can say hum. Yabghuna, they, in other words, the hypocrites. They seek. What do they seek? Kum. So the rule is, when you have a pronoun attached to the verb, it becomes the maf'ul bihi. So that's maf'ul bihi number one. And then al-fitna ta. So the fatha there is what? Tells what hal is that in? Nasab, mansoob. And because it's maf'ul. So now, how much maf'ul do you have? One or two? Two maf'uls. So now the ulama explain it. It's actually yabghuna lakum al-fitnata. Are you with me? It's just written differently here. You follow? Yabghuna, they seek lakum, for you, O believers. What are they seeking for you? Goodness? No. Al-fitnata, they seeking strife. Now, وَفِيكُمْ سَمَّاعُونَ لَهُمْ. We'll just end off very quickly. وَفِيكُمْ, and amongst you. And this is now a challenge. وَفِيكُمْ. So wa means and, fikum. Fi is a what do you call it now? Harf jar, isn't it? Fi, what do they call harf jar in English? A particle, a preposition. And wafikum, and in you. In other words, amongst you. Amongst you. Who is Allah referring to now? The believers, isn't it? And amongst you are going to be who? Samma'una. Samma'una. So you look at the word Samma'una, what are the root letters? Sami'a yasma', which means to listen. So the ismul fa'il of Sami'a yasma' would be what? Sami'. And they are amongst you those who listen. Lahum, to them. But Allah is not talking about just listening. Samma'un, some of the ulama say Samma'un is when you, because now you're taking the same root letters and you're placing it on the scale of fa'alun, ismul mubalagha, right? Samma'un. So if you wanted to listen intently, ulama say here is some amongst the Muslims, the weaker from amongst the Muslims, when they are faced with propaganda, what do they do in the initial instance? They listen to it, that is sami'. But samma is when you listen to something and you actually believe it. So now Allah is saying, look, this army going to Tabuk is going to be void of hypocrites. If the hypocrites had to join you, they would have done what we explained now. They only increase you in terms of loss. And then, as a matter of protecting you, Allah says that at the same time also, me preventing the hypocrites from joining you on this battle is for your own safety. Because dear Muslims, amongst you, as you well know, think of your family, think of your community, there are those that when propaganda comes in, what happens to it? Because of the level of the intellect and spirituality and others, what happens? They listen and they actually believe. And here Allah SWT talks about that time, from amongst the Sahaba, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, there may have been some who, as a result of their weakness in terms of what happens with information. What does Allah talk about information in Quran? وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِنَ الْأَمْنِ وَالْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ وَلَوْ رَدُّوا إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ. Information needs to be filtered in a particular way, and not everybody has the capacity to filter information properly. So now if those munafiqun are from amongst them, you say no, but we know who the munafiqun are, we're safeguarded against him. No, amongst the believers there are weak ones that are going to do what? Not only are they going to listen, you and I, we listen, but you know, whether we believe it or not is a different thing. But these believers, due to the weaknesses, they're going to listen and they're going to believe, and it becomes a problem, and it's going to lead to what? Where you find now, as a result of the intervention of the munafiqun, you find Muslims now pitted against Muslim, and it leads to what? Disunity. Wallahu alimun bil-zalimin. Allah ends up by giving a warning. Allah is most knowledgeable of who? Al-zalimin. Allah grant us the understanding. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.